You probably have some goals set already. Maybe you want to finish your studies, to get fantastic grades, maybe you want to advance in your career, to climb the corporate ladder, or maybe you just want to get a six pack by summer or to have 10 books read in 5 months. I'm sure you already have a goal or multiple goals you've set, which I applaud. But why have you set those goals? You don't want the six pack in summer to just look good in photos, do you? Although consciously you might say you do, but the reason is because you want to feel what it's like to look good in a photo, for example, or in clothes, or on the beach. What you actually want is the feeling behind what you will get. And we can trace all of this down to the feeling of not being good enough. Basically, you currently, let's say, in this example of not having a six pack yet, you currently don't feel good enough. You project yourself in the future, you imagine yourself with a six pack, and you're like, then is when I will feel good enough. And this is such a horrible trap to fall into because you will just set goals over and over and over again, and you will never feel good enough. You are chasing this feeling of being good enough in the absolutely wrong way. Because truthfully, you are already good enough. The version of you that's good enough is not in the future. The version of you that's good enough is not behind a certain constraint. It's here, right now. You are the best version of you. You are the version of you that's worthy. You are the version of you that deserves love and appreciation and whatever you've constrained behind certain goals. If you still have constraints for feeling good enough, you will never feel good enough, period. That's the way it works. You will always find something else to work on. And you will always keep constraining you feeling and being good enough behind a certain wall. And that causes anxieties, that causes insecurities. And it's a horrible experience of life. I don't really think you want to keep living like that and to be guided by insecurities and anxieties all the time. Because I'm telling you, you can live a good life without any of those things. Because I know I've managed to do it myself in certain scenarios. I used to care a lot about fashion, but my interest in fashion used to be compulsive. Like, if there was a day in high school where, for example, I didn't manage to get my clothes ironed or to get a nice outfit on, I would feel inferior, I would feel bad. And in contrast to that, when I did get a fantastic outfit, I felt superior. I felt like I'm just looking better than everybody else. That would just make me feel like I'm good enough, for now, because then I still had other constraints to feeling good enough and other goals to achieve. And now, I still choose to dress nicely, but it's a choice, it's not a compulsion anymore. It's my intention to dress nicely because that's how I like to express some of my authenticity. And in this scenario, if under crazy circumstances I end up walking down the street in baggy, stainy, and ripped apart clothes, I will not feel inferior. Because that's just how I look, that's not who I am. And in opposition to that, if I have the best outfit I've ever thought of, I will not feel better. Because I'm still me, right? An outfit doesn't change anything. And if a friend of mine compliments or critiques my outfit, I will be like, okay, interesting opinion, thank you, but I'm still me. I don't become a better person or a worse person because of that. And another good example would be my fitness levels, because for most of my life I used to be really overweight. And a couple of years ago I lost like 20 kilograms or something, so I really became pretty fit, right? I had a flat stomach, definitely. During the period of life where I was overweight, I was always extremely cautious of my belly not popping through my t-shirt. So I would make sure to wear baggy t-shirts, right? So that people cannot spot that. But of course, how much can you hide it when you're overweight? You can't really do the best job possible, whatever you try. So I used to have this insecurity all the time and be anxious of how my belly pops or doesn't pop through my t-shirt. And what I realized is that I got to the point where I became fit, and when I became fit, I still had moments where my belly was possibly, after a big meal, my belly was still popping through. But I didn't really feel insecure anymore. I previously had this idea of being fit and of having a flat stomach attached to the idea of feeling good enough. And in that moment, it just clicked for me. It was such an interesting experience that I realized that, okay, I am fit, but my belly is still popping through, right? But I still feel good enough for some weird reason. So I realized that I don't have to look fit in order to be good enough, to feel good enough. I'm still good enough if my belly pops through, right? But then I started bulking, and now I'm at 18-19% body fat or something like that. So I'm not really fit. I don't have a six pack, definitely. And guess what? My insecurities didn't come back because I don't have the image of my body attached to feeling good enough anymore. I can even proudly say that I have a bit of a belly. That's just how it is. It doesn't make me a worse person. In the same way as having a six-pack doesn't make me a better person. You see, but I will still choose to get fit again because I had the intention of building muscle. Now I will have the intention to live in a more healthy way and to get to the point where I'm more fit. Because I care about fitness. I want to be a healthy person. I want to live longer. I want to be a capable person of doing normal movements. You see, this is an intention, not a compulsion. If I, for example, will keep on being fat forever, let's say, I get some medical condition or God forbid, and I end up being fat forever, I will still feel good enough. Why wouldn't I? It's just the image of my body is not who I truly am. But now I can make a change. I consciously prioritize health, so I want to get to that point. You see that this is the healthy way of approaching life. And on this channel we're usually talking about social anxiety, but I think this topic of goal striving and of feeling good enough is such an important topic for social anxiety because the same principles can be applied to social situations. And I feel like I'm currently going through the same click I had in my fitness journey in the social situations. And I'm excited to show you my progress and to show you the realizations that I make. But this idea might still be scary for you, and I understand that. Because you might think that if you strip away all those insecurities, then you might get to the point where you realize that you don't actually care about fitness, for example. So why pursue fitness in the first place? And you will end up being extremely overweight. And then you will just not fit into the social standards anymore, and you will still not feel good enough. But this is completely against everything we've talked about already. Because in that position, even if you would be overweight, even if, let's say, you decide you don't care whatsoever about living long, about being able to engage in physical activities, and you just want to eat junk food all the time, and that's completely authentic to you, which probably isn't, but let's say it is, you would feel good enough. If you remove all those constraints behind you feeling good enough, then you can just be extremely morbidly overweight and still feel good enough. But this is the scary part, right? Because unless you've already managed to do something like this in your life, to go through a journey of becoming a version of you that feels good enough, then you can't really imagine how it actually feels to have a trait that's socially labeled as unacceptable and still be enough with it, still be good with it. Now the thing is, there is no YouTube video or podcast or book, there is no person that can make this click for you. You can hear advice that can properly guide you, and I hope my advice will keep guiding you towards the healthy approach, but for example, I cannot make it click for you. The only person that's able to make it click for you is you. You have to just get through that roller coaster of feelings and emotions and spot the truth that you will still be good enough, regardless of your physical appearance, regardless of you having achieved a certain goal or not. And I really wish that for you because it's such a better existence. It's a life with no drama anymore, because when you have insecurities, there is so much drama, so much useless overthinking. The life on the other side is so much more still.